All right. Welcome to another edition of Vegas Badboyz of Podcasting. I'm DJ Impact, and I got a couple of the bad boys here with me. Sin City, is good to see you. Matt Michaels, is good to see you. And everyone, as you're jumping on, thank you for hopping on and watching us tonight. I know we're on a different day than we normally you normally would be on, but as you are aware, it is the holiday season going around, and we just celebrated July 4th, which, by the way, happy July 4th to everyone who celebrated yesterday. And exciting times, lots of fireworks and lots of everything. I'm sure you guys had lots of hot dogs, right?
Well, at least I wasn't a hockey goalie that blew myself up. So check into it, kids. Seriously, it's an unbelievable story.
Oh my God. Well, if that did happen, that is a bad thing.
No, it did happen. He was 24 years old, Columbus Blue Jackets goalie. He blew himself up with fireworks.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. My God. Well, hopefully nobody did that, man. So,
hey, at least we weren't golfers who got shot on the golf course. That's another story you missed.
I actually did hear that. I'm still confused on how that happened.
Yeah. DJ, what it comes down to is that white people's sports is not really that safe anymore.
Oh man, well, something for us to look into and possibly debate about, right? Oh man. Well, look, despite all the tragedy that's been happening this past weekend, hopefully you all had a pretty good weekend yourself, and we're happy to be here. We're going to talk a little wrestling for you. And I know this is Monday night, so if you're watching us live right now, you may be saying, hey, Raw's about to come on, but hopefully you DVR that and listen to us, and we won't give you any spoilers or anything for folks like myself who actually get it at the 5 p.m. time before everybody else. So, I got a chance to see it. Don't roll your eyes. I won't spoil anything. We'll talk about Raw. We'll talk about some of Raw from last week. So let's just get right into it, man. Raw from last week. Anything that you guys want to mention? I wanted to shout out the Kofi and MVP segment last week. I thought that was really awesome. The banter and going back and forth from Kofi in the ring and MVP up at the top of the stage area. And I mean, it got really good. Eventually, Kofi got a chance to put hands on MVP and asked him, "Hey, are you hurt now?" So I like that whole thing, man. It looked like MVP might be, he's getting called out on that injury.
Well, it was great to see Bobby Lashley come to his aid.
Oh man. Well, no, that didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, that was one of my favorite parts. Anything that stood out for you guys for Raw last week?
Yeah, I kudos to Randy Orton, aka Riddle, for winning the Battle Royal, playing the part of Randy Orton, right. Even down to the mannerisms and getting his pyro and everything like that. And then the main event, the triple threat, was a pretty solid match. I know that I have to talk it up because Michaels won't give Drew McIntyre his due, but
right.
I thought all three guys, Styles, Riddle, and McIntyre, had a solid match. 27 minutes, and you can say what you will about his championship run, but Drew McIntyre, over the last 9 months or so specifically, if you just look at his work rate and his effort that he's put in for all of his matches, regardless of whether they were championship matches, That's another thing for another day. I talked last week about how many chances at getting a title is McIntyre going to get, but he's really stepped up his work rate, and he's had one hell of a run during the quarantine. Let's be real.
I agree.
Yeah, let's be real. So if we can be real,
go for it.
It's amazing how AEW fans will bitch and moan about how WWE doesn't give guys opportunity and they don't push the right guys and blah, blah, blah. So here you get Riddle. He wins a fucking battle royal. You put him in the main event to get a spot in the ladder match with, this way you get a chance for Orton to be in that match. And it goes Drew. Great. Fucking fun. Yay. The saving grace of the idea that they went with this year by mixing both shows was very smart. Because if think about it, if this would have been just a Raw ladder match, Money in the Bank match, then you would have gotten Drew and you would have gotten Randy and you would have got an AJ in there. You would have had your just usual core people. Right. Now you want to get a crossover. And this way, you see a little intermixing. I think that one of the things that they have been missing is that idea of intermixing the shows just a little bit. It's much better when the shows have a little more flexibility like that. So, listen, they're going to push Drew McIntyre until everyone goes and boos him, and then they'll turn him heel, and then people will love him. And it's rinse, wash, and repeat with that formula right now.
But you're not taking anything away from him being an excellent performer, right?
I mean, I can't wrestle like that. Can you? No. But if I compare him to other people, and do I want to see him wrestle more so than some of the other talent? No, absolutely not. I'm overseeing Drew McIntyre, constantly showing up, because again, the whole thing is everyone fucking bitches about seeing the same three fucking people over and over in the main events, and then you get this exact same scenario playing out, and now it's like, oh, but Drew is so good. He's been so great. He held this company together while it was in the pandemic. No, he didn't. If they wanted to fucking pull the trigger, they would have. It's the fact of the matter is that if you go back and listen to our shows, what do we say? The ratings of Raw are down. They're down. They're down. Who was the person they were hanging their hat on? Drew McIntyre. So I don't think there's any coincidence there. I do not think that he draws eyes to the product at all.
Interesting. So you think that if they would have put the title on someone else during the start of that pandemic to this point, that there could have been a better ratings for Raw? I'm interested who that person would have been.
You know what? And we don't know that, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is you can't answer that question because it wasn't done. But however, what is interesting is that they did have Drew drop that title during that run. Mm-hmm. So, and then he gets the title back, and what does he do? Drops the title to Bobby Lashley. So maybe they weren't, as head over heels with the ratings that they were getting with Drew. Now, does that mean you end it? No, you give him, you give the opportunity, but again, it's hard to sit here and think for the longest period of time, a guy like Triple H, fans just shit all over. Oh, he's got the belt too long. This guy's blah 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 fucking blah. Cena and Triple H and Orton. Oh God, we're gonna see these guys again. It's the same. Same shit.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that until they find that person who can carry that show to better ratings,
Yeah.
which they're having trouble doing.
Gotcha.
You know, that's all. It's
No
all.
doubt.
Doesn't mean he's an awful wrestler or whatnot. It's just that we've seen him wrestle as champion. We've seen him wrestle for the opportunity to be champion. Hey, let's mix something new into it. And the idea of, to me, now, granted, Orton will probably end up in the ladder match because he can come in this week. Oh, I saw a twinkle in DJ's eye.
I haven't said or done anything. Don't even go there.
East Coast, you already know what happened, don't you, East Coast?
Oh, man. And also, shout out to everybody. If you want to join us in our Facebook chat, feel free to join in. Shout out to Chris, who's always rocking with us. We appreciate you, man, and thanks for being on. He says, though, I'm still holding out for an R-Truth title run. So I think you're going to be holding on to that for a while, Chris, for that to happen. Another part of the show, I thought that was really good. Ricochet off the top rope onto Morrison over the barricade. That was crazy.
That was awesome. And that is exactly how you film a spot involving a crash pad.
Yeah, absolutely true.
That is exactly how you do it, because unlike, and we're contrasting WWE and AEW. AEW, they perform the spot, and the crash pad, the boxes, whatever, are in complete view of the camera angle that they chose to use. Whereas with WWE, was there a crash pad used? Obviously,
right.
For those of us that think a little bit deeper, yes, of course they use some sort of a crash pad, but
right.
There's no definitive way of knowing because of the camera angle that was used.
Yeah.
So
which goes to the shocking revelation Lana made this week on Jericho's podcast, that the WWE pumps in fan reaction.
You don't
Oh my God.
They've been doing that shit for years.
You wonder why.
It didn't take them moving to the Thunderdome to pump in crowd reaction. But
not only that, but you wonder why this fucking chick was fired.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, you're stating the obvious. So the fact of the matter is that we all know crash pads are used. You just shoot it in the way that it doesn't look like a crash pad was used, and that's fine. But now they're not going to have the luxury of doing that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
that's the days of the camera, unless they're able to, I don't know, fit a crash pad behind a barricade with the front row sitting there. So, it was a great
the front row is the crash pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it should be, as God intended it.
Let me ask you, do you think there is any, as we're going back into live audiences, do you think there's a reason to use the Thunderdome in any capacity going forward? Not all the time, but certain situations where you just want to try something different. Kind of going in between live audience and then sort of virtual. Do you think there's room for that, or that's just not really, not anymore?
Does the virtual audience make them money?
Well, they've been making money.
But I'm just saying off of the money's not coming from the live gate. That's the whole thing.
Right.
So they're going to be making tons more money off live gate. Actually, I don't know if it's Thunderdome that will be used as much as cinematic matches. I think that one thing the pandemic showed is that you can do a cinematic match. So I think you'll get that every once in a while. But the other thing too, they got to rent out that fucking Thunderdome for shooting something if they do it, and
yeah.
So exactly. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see much of it anymore.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think the Thunderdome so much as the Performance Center. I could see them actually doing some things, some pre-tapes and whatnot, and essentially just adding that to the toolbox that they have that they can pull from every now and then. I mean, obviously, they can shoot some vignettes, they can shoot some things that don't. To where they don't need live crowds for whatever the situation may be. So it's just another thing that they can add into their arsenal. So
the biggest question is how many of those TVs were Samsung and are they returnable?
For real. Oh God. All right.
Well played.
All right. Is that it?
Wait, are we not going to talk about the greatest thing on the show?
That's what we've ever... Go ahead.
Yeah, we got to talk about Ava Marie and how amazing her fucking in-ring skills and her mic skills and everything about her is. And I think Dewdrop's holding her back. I think that Ava's a real star.
So you're definitely, so neither one of you guys are really feeling where they're going with this.
Well, they're going to end up with Lana and Ava as a tag team in AEW. Don't you see it?
Obviously, anybody can see where this is going to go eventually. I mean, it's going to be used as, a way to separate Dewdrop or Piper Niven from Eva Marie. They've already planted the seeds for that shit, and she's been on TV for 2 weeks. So, hooray, long-term storytelling.
Well, they probably had this, in mind, I think that I hope that there is just a bit of sadisticness going on back there going, hey, you know what we should do? We should bring back Eva Marie. And then we can have it seem like we'll tell her we're going to build her up. We're going to make her this star and it's going to be amazing. She'll get so much more opportunities. She'll become as big as John Cena or The Rock in the movies. It's going to be amazing for you, Ava. You got to come back. And then we'll put her with this wonderfully talented, huge opposing, presence and just have Eva just eat a big shit burger. And that just makes me just giddy to think that's even a possibility to have the talks. Honestly, I still don't think Vince actually knew who the fuck they were hiring back.
Probably not.
Pretty simple.
I think the thing that really makes me laugh about that entire situation is how long were we seeing vignettes and promos, talking about, women empowerment and, the evolution and all this other kind of shit. The vignettes made Eva Marie look like she was going to be coming back in as a babyface. And of course, somebody that the young girls can, use as a role model and things like that. And then obviously as soon as she debuts, it's a 180. That was what instantly just made me laugh profusely when I saw the way that everything was unfolding, and to see just how twisted and perverse the Eva Marie character actually is. This is definitely coming straight from Vince, guarantee.
The best thing about it is they set it up anticipating that she's actually a wrestler. And then you see she's not. I mean, something tells me that Vince thought that he was getting Taya Valkyrie. And then it ended up being Eva Marie. And he's like, well, what happened to the other chick? And it was, she's down. She's playing this character named Frankie Monroe. So she's tied up down there. And you just committed all this money to her. So what do you want to do? I don't know. Throw her out there and have her tag with that that you know the what, Bertha Faye, whoever that chick is.
Oh, Jesus. Oh man. Well, we got to see where they're gonna go with this. I'm hoping that when she finally gets in the ring, that her talent is just a lot better than when it was when
Oh,
she
shut
left.
the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! I am
That's what I'm hoping
hoping.
for. That's what I'm hoping for. You know, I'm hoping it's not the same Eva Marie we had when she left. I'm hoping she put in that work. So now that she came in, she's gonna just shock us all. That's what I'm hoping. Let me have something to hope for, man.
Good God.
All right. Well, we have to keep our eyes out and see where that all goes. Anything else?
I just hope they're signing her checks to the right person.
Anything else on Raw? No? Okay. Let's jump over to NXT. And that was actually a really good night, man. We could be all night just running down everything that happened, but what really stood out to you? I like how the show kicked off with the number one women's contenders match, and it's great, man. It's I don't know what it is about NXT, man. It's like they just get it, right? Am I wrong with it? Like they just they get it.
It's the WWE show that Vince has absolutely zero input on. That's why you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
And that's actually stunning that he was even at the Performance Center this week.
Oh, he was?
I'm surprised he knew the address. Shit.
I still trip out that everyone says he doesn't know anything about that product, when it's under his fucking.
Really? You still trip up? You trip out on that.
I really do.
His first words when he walked through the door, and the first person he saw, was like, "I thought we fired that fat Samoan."
Shit. Right. Impact. Let's call it what it is. Have you seen anybody from NXT debut on the main roster and how they've been treated? Absolutely nothing like their character in NXT.
Right. So, and now I understand when we did that 3-count article not too long ago about Triple H made a response. He was talking about how the fans mess things up for themselves, but he had mentioned that there's some of the talent from NXT that just like staying where they're at and not necessarily move up. And I could see that now. I could go, okay, because at first I always was thinking that the goal was to move up into one of the main shows. But I mean, why not? If you're successful and doing well in an NXT brand, I see it now. It's interesting.
I mean, that's long been the thing with Ciampa. That's why he's still in NXT. He's said that if he gets moved up to the main roster, that he's just going to retire.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, the guy is 67, so.
No shit.
The truth of the matter is that it was the goal because the WWE had a bigger actual marketing, with your deals on t-shirts and toys and all that shit. Yeah. Well, as NXT then gets moved to TV and, grows in its popularity throughout the years, I mean, yeah, you're making less money under the contract there, but you're also probably taking in a damn decent amount of money on the merchandising, which you would have been taking. It's the reason you go up to the main roster, essentially.
Right.
So, it's the thing is it's a better product for many different reasons. One of the first reasons is the environment is always going to be a controlled environment. Okay. They're not walking in and having stuff, thrown in their face out of the blue, this is what you're doing today, essentially, because of the fact that they already have that outline of, where they're going with things.
Mhm.
It's a smaller contained, product. You don't have as many wrestlers to worry about. So
Right.
it's a total different animal. You can open up the show with a huge tag team match like that,
Mhm.
where it's women's wrestling. There is just action just happen constantly.
Mhm.
And one of the, comparisons is if you look at the main roster and you look at, even as talented as those women are, I don't think you could open up a Raw or a SmackDown with that type of match, because there's not enough, talent to carry that, essentially, without putting, all, your Charlotte and your, Bailey and your Becky's and your, all those top tier talents, because those people are all usually in singles matches. So what do? You combine people like Shayna and Nia, which is all right enough, but that wears out quick. Whereas, Candice and Indy, that's not going to wear out.
Right.
It's a perfect pairing.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And you also do things too, like it's already set up for Zoe and Io to potentially have the tag team championships and then to interfight after, they lose the straps. So they're already hinting at that. And that might mean they might not even win the tag straps because of,
Which, by the way, is just amazing. Speaking of them too, there was a part in the ring right when the bell rang. Io kind of pushed Zoe back a little bit, telling her to pretty much get out of the ring. I'm starting off. And then she actually waved at her like, okay, bye-bye. And it was like, it's those little things that when you catch that you go, wow, that's really awesome. Like if you really got a chance to see that part, you can kind of see how it is going to be the start of something. I mean, you wouldn't tell that if you didn't see that and you watched the whole match. You'd be like, wow, they're great. And they are great. But there was that little bit of, tiny bit of, hey, it's about me right now. You go move. I'm the one in charge. Bye-bye. See ya. And I love that part of that. So, yeah, I see what you're saying about that happening between the two. Anything else? What's so funny? When we had a group of 5 of the Bad Boys, we used to always talk about how much we love Cameron Grimes, and we had people that just shit on him. And it's just amazing just to watch just how great this guy is right now. And the thing about it is we saw this back then. We was like, this guy is a star. And it's just amazing to see where he's at right now. But let me ask
you said it. You said it, by the way. You did. So
thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take the heat. But let me ask this though. Okay, so LA Knight, Cameron Grimes. Okay, the loser, Cameron Grimes, pretty much, if he loses, has to be the Butler. Now that kind of hit me a little bit. That was part of a AEW storyline, correct?
Yep.
I have to call it, and I don't like to call shit out like that. But
I'm shocked as shit that you're actually pulling this out.
No, I know.
I figured I would have to be the one to say it.
No, I heard it, and I just did. Oh shit! I mean, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. But when I heard it, I was like, why is it the same exact? I don't mind certain things crossing because you're going to have that in wrestling, but so close. I mean, we just had it. We just had the Butler storyline.
Whoa.
Okay.
Slow
Where
the
am I
train.
tripping?
First off, everything in wrestling has already been done.
Yep.
True. Yeah,
right,
we get
so
that.
That's first. Okay. Second off, okay, let's look at the difference. Who the fuck was the AEW Butler?
Chuck Taylor.
Okay,
I
that guy.
know.
No, but here's the difference. This makes fucking sense. Pure and simple. This makes sense because Cameron Grimes and LA Knight had a one-on-one thing going on for that $1 million belt. Grimes still wants that belt. Here's the stakes. If you don't win, you become my personal butler. Okay, so what's going to happen? They're going to do it a lot better than that piece of shit fucking bullshit that AEW did with it. Because I'll tell you right now, Cameron Grimes, pretty fucking talented. Chuck Taylor, good pair of shoes. That's
listen, I will give you that. I will say Sin City. I do think that is going to be ran better. But the only thing I'm just saying, I'm just calling out was just like maybe use a different, what's another term for butler? I would accept that, some
DJ,
other.
Watch what you say about that.
I'm just going to say I'm glad that you're the one putting this out here.
All right. Okay. All right.
I don't think you necessarily want to say something like he's his manservant because Kenny Omega has one of those, and we know that that's a real life situation. So,
yeah. Well,
I'll just take another drink.
Oh man. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see where all of that goes to.
And I think Cameron Grimes will do a great job as LA Knight's butler.
Yeah.
I think that'll happen. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made the step.
Sure.
Yeah, let's just hope that everything goes good at LA Knight's wedding.
Oh man. Okay. A lot of others. Do you guys want to mention? I mean, I got all types of things, but I'm not gonna run everything down. Anything that really stood out for you guys else on the show?
Go ahead, Steve.
All right. Yeah, I'll talk about it. The NXT North American Championship match, which ended up being an impromptu match. Quite frankly, didn't anticipate on there being, a North American title match that night. And we got a North American Championship change that night.
Yeah.
Swerve Scott knocks off Bronson Reed to take the championship. Now, obviously, if anybody has read, any of the news involving Bronson Reed, this makes sense. He has been rumored to be moving on up to the main roster very shortly and has wrestled on WWE main event. So obviously they liked what they saw. So thus they took the title from him, and he's going to be appearing on a Raw or a SmackDown near you very shortly. But from the moment that they signed Shane Strickland or Swerve Scott and brought him and gave him a platform on the show, I've been talking this guy up, saying that he is amazing. I was a huge fan of his work on the indies, and I'm still a huge fan of his work now. They've got a great faction behind him. And yes, I said a great faction, with Top Dollar and Ashanti the Adonis and BFAB. They're all doing their own thing. And for them to gel as well as they have in this short amount of time really speaks volumes for those individual competitors, but also for the agents and the people that have been giving them help and giving them pointers along the way. So great stuff all across the board. I couldn't be happier for Isaiah Swerve Scott.
I agree, man. I second that.
And it's gonna be nice when you know, Bronson Reed gets his opportunity. Um, I haven't heard that "Funk Is on a Roll" song in a long time, so I got a feeling that that's going to be nice hearing that, and he come out with the fucking Delics, and it's going to be awesome.
Bro, hey, right there, Naomi. I mean, she's already familiar with the dance routine. She knows what's up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that Vince was like, well, I thought this guy was on Fox. All right, we've got him now. Yay.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. Yeah, good call out there, Steve. Congrats to Swerve from taking that North American title there. So, yeah, there's going to be. Oh, go ahead, man.
Can we just credit Samoa Joe for allowing Kyle O'Reilly just to continue, and you just hear
That is great.
Cole just fucking yelling, "Joe, get him off me!"
It was great.
And then Joe, of course, happens to be there to pull Johnny Gargano on the way across his speeding car.
Right.
God. It's going to be interesting. I think fans will be let down if it doesn't lead to a Cross Joe match, which you can easily potentially see that type of match being a not for the title per se. I think you could actually basically, if Joe wins the match, then the title becomes vacant. And they could have some tomfoolery go on to, somehow make it where Cross isn't really defeated per se. Or the simpler route is, Cross does something to the point where he doesn't stop, to the point where Joe is just so fed up that Joe fires him. And then he disappears, and then makes his debut on the main roster. And then you have a conflict between Regal and Joe, where Regal's like, you don't have the authority to do this kind of stuff, and then maybe it leads to that. I still want to see that Regal Joe match that, I'm telling you, Regal has been one of Joe's biggest supporters for, I guess it's been over 20 years now. So that would be fun. I don't think we'll ever see Regal in the ring again. But yeah, I think that's where we're headed. Of course, that's what they're teasing, is across Samoa Joe, some kind of confrontation.
And that actually makes a lot of sense, because as I was watching this show specifically, it definitely looked like they were, pulling toward that. And it almost feels like as if that feud would be bigger than the championship, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So, it would be one of those things where you could still keep Cross in an amazing position on the card, but it would actually serve both, it would serve both purposes. It would help to elevate somebody else to take that championship, but also it would in turn help to elevate Cross to presumably defeat and walk all over Samoa Joe. And obviously I don't think that he's going to, I don't think it's going to be a squash match by any means, but I think that Cross wins that match without question, or at least he should.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that everything becomes more interesting with the fact that Vince was down there, because that also might mean that in scouting these guys, in trying to see, who he might want to bring up and stuff, I think that you kind of got twofold. One is potentially then letting the NXT staff know who's getting the next call-ups, right? then you're also looking at the potential that with with this idea, if NXT guys are going to get called up, I say we see cuts at the main roster sometime right after SummerSlam, because we haven't seen the main roster cuts to an extent yet. We saw some of them, but I think some of the dead weight is finally going to go. We can start with God, what's her name? Oh, Eva Marie. But I honestly, I think that's what you're going to see. Is you're going to probably see some of these NXT guys get called up because they're probably going to cut some of the main guys, I would assume.
Damn. Well, that sucks to see that continuing to happen, but I guess smart. That's what it is.
It's smart.
No, I get it.
Well, but the whole thing is that the more of those guys that are your lower to mid level that you can cut and have AEW sign, then the AEW guys who could potentially be big stars, who they're not going to get contracts because all this money is getting doled out, is they're going to end up signing with NXT and eventually become the next major stars for the company. It's a fucking playbook that has been out there for 25 years. It's like, if you're the company that can't see what was done wrong by the former company that was on the same network, then you guys are a bunch of fucking fools. And this is what we're seeing playing out right now.
Yeah. Before we jump right over to AEW, any excitement to see the return of the breakout tournament that's going to happen in a couple of weeks?
Any remembrance of the breakout tournament? Because I totally fucking didn't remember at all.
Well, they made a lot of reference to the breakout tournament, so
I don't personally see any value in watching a tournament called the Outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after the pandemic. Gotcha. It's even worse because they put 19 people in it. So it's going to be breakout 19.
Oh, man. Dude, quick with it. All right. AEW, Sin City Steve, what you got?
Well, much like how NXT got off to a hot start, AEW yet again gets off to a hot start this week. Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston and Penta El Zero Miedo. And the stip was that if Kingston and Penta win, then they get an AEW tag team title shot next week at AEW Road Rager. And what do you know? Kingston and Penta pick up the win. Now, honestly, this match got things off running pretty good this week. I've talked numerous times about AEW and how they front load the show with a solid match that gets the crowd amped up and gets the crowd invested in the show. And I think that is one thing that they've really, really honed in on and they've gotten great with, is that they don't start the show by a 20-minute promo or anything of that nature. And they get you off and running with with a solid match. In this case, it was a 16-minute match. You had a little bit of the fuckery with, Brandon Cutler and the cold spray. And then obviously the Good Brothers running down, but also you had Frankie Kazarian come out and, kind of even up the odds a little bit. So I think that it's really cool that after the ending of SCU that they still have things for Frankie to do. And I think that he's done extremely well in his role so far, almost forging a little bit of an alliance against the Elite. And obviously he's got the merch, for Elite Hunter and things like that. It got off and running pretty well.
Question on
But
that. On
yeah.
that. This is something that I think is it doesn't refer to just AEW, but all companies in general. So you just had a match between the two teams that were fighting for a match for the same match to happen the next week.
Yep.
That's the only disappointing thing. I would have rather have seen those two wrestle another team. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think unfortunately it's almost lazy booking at times. Realistically, it is what it is. I think that, the Young Bucks coming out there, and I do have to give a shout out to their brand new facial hair that they just so happened to grow in the last week. Both them and Kenny Omega.
They were referenced as being as porn stars.
Yes. Or looking like Jim Ross did in the 70s when he was a ref. Go back and look that shit up. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it accomplished what it needed to do. It built to another match for their their super show, or whatever they're choosing to call it. Now keep in mind, this is kind of the structure that AEW is going to run. Even once they move to TBS and things of that nature, they're still going to do, I believe it's 4 of the sub pay-per-views per year. And those are going to still be on TNT, but the normal weekly show, the normal Dynamite show, will be on TBS starting later this year. So, albeit, outside of the lazy booking of not getting a different team in there to actually have a number 1 contender match, I think that all 4 guys brought it. Very solid start to the show.
I will tell you this. Let me just throw this in. I kept saying, am I going to say it? Should I not say it? Should I say it? Should I not say it?
Don't hold anything back, man.
It's just the one thing that, because I enjoyed the match too, except for the exception of this one part. So who's the guy with the cold spray cans?
Brandon Cutler.
This guy is on the top of the ring. He accidentally sprays, but not only did he accidentally spray the wrong guy, he continues to spray after he's on. That shit annoys me. And then he's going, and then he's got this look on his face like, look what I've done, why I'm still spraying the fucking cans. It's stupid. That bothered me. It's one thing to accidentally spray and you go, oops, my bad, I fucked up. I didn't mean to do that. It's another thing to take it to the extreme of, oh my God, I messed up, look what I'm doing, but I'm still spraying. I hated that.
That was the joke.
I hated that. And I didn't like it.
The joke.
Right. And I didn't like it.
Obviously not.
Don't like it. I don't like that type of comedy. Keep that shit off. Keep going. What we got next?
To each their own. All right. So elsewhere, Jungle Boy picked up a win over Jack Evans, first AEW competitor to 50 wins. Yay. Another promo with Kenny Omega coming out looking like Triple H from Wish, from back in the day when Triple H had the big gold belt and he had the facial hair exactly the same way. There's a meme already all over the internet. So yeah, I don't know if that was a shot at Triple H or what the deal was, but I thought that was pretty funny. And then you had the Dark Order come out on behalf of Hangman Page and essentially set up the title match for All Out between Omega and Page, where hopefully they have Page go over and they do the right thing. Oh, Jesus
There
Christ.
you go, boys.
All right.
Good old JR from 1976.
You're missing the facial hair.
Couldn't find it yet, but
but one hell of a find there, Michaels.
Yeah. He it's amazing what drinking can do.
No shit. No shit. Elsewhere, we had Miro defeating Brian Pillman Jr. in a TNT championship match. And and it was a quick kind of a showcase match, more so for Miro, but it did get Brian Pillman out there, and they did hype him up on commentary. So we'll see where they go from here, but it helped, in my opinion, to build both guys a little bit. Obviously, Miro was convincing in victory, but they did put over Pillman on commentary quite a bit. So that was one thing that I took from that match. And then our main event, MJF and Sammy Guevara. These guys killed it. Without a doubt, killed it. 20-minute match. MJF goes over. Both guys just tombstone from the top, Spanish flies. Sammy Guevara doing a dive from the top rope over the barricade into like the third row. Yeah, solid match. If you're watching this or listening to this and you didn't watch it, I would recommend spending 20 minutes of your time going back and watching this match.
And stop it right before the end.
Without a doubt. I was about ready to say that. Watch that. And then the promo video, which immediately followed it, they did a really good job of, putting a nice little bow on their time at Daly's Place, because they're going back out on the road starting next week, and they're going to be on the road continually. So who knows the next time they'll be back in Jacksonville. And yes, as soon as that promo video or that recap video ends, go ahead and just cut the feed right there. No need to sit there and listen to embellishments, especially from an aforementioned referee that, inadvertently referred to AEW Dynamite as WWE Dynamite yet again.
By the way,
inadvertently, isn't he he's trying to sink the company, right? Vince sent him there to sink the company, right?
You did say that like right in the beginning when he went there. So who knows? Could be.
I'm surprised that Excalibur didn't quickly correct him, because I found out that that's his real role on the show, is just to correct everything that JR says, because that's all I ever hear is just the constant correcting. And that's Excalibur's job. But I guess he had turned his mic off, like, okay, that's the end of the show. And by the time that he heard him say that, he was like, oh shit, but the cameras went off. So he didn't get a chance to correct him. But Excalibur, you gotta keep your mic on and your headphones on until they totally tell you that it's off, because JR may say something and you need to quickly be on it. That's your job, man. That's why you're there. And
also, props to Chris Jericho for being on commentary for the whole night too. He did make the show more entertaining as well. So
yeah, he's becoming more of a better talker than wrestler right now. I mean, and that's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad
thing. Frankly, I would be cool with, Jericho stepping into a commentating role on a permanent basis once he walks away from the ring.
Yeah. In contrast with Taz, there's another person. Keep him on commentary. Fuck this whole Taz bullshit. Get rid of this whole Team Taz thing. It's useless. It's pointless. Let him be a commentator.
Well, I think that we're starting to see the beginning of the end of Team Taz, though, because obviously, I mean, they did make the announcement that it's going to be Starks versus Cage next week for the FTW title. Of course, that's going to fracture the stable. And then, so what? You've got Hook, who is Taz's son, and Will Hobbs, which, I mean, quite frankly, Powerhouse Hobbs, he can do extremely well on his own. And he's a beast, bro.
Hobbs is great. Hobbs is the one who should have that FTW title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Starks doesn't need it. Starks will, go on. He'll be a TNT champion or whatever. Hook, boy, I mean, he's really Taz Kid. Sometimes you look and you kind of go, I mean, I would assume he's tough, but he's still, it's like Ray's kid. It's like Hook and Dominic need to be a tag team, and they need to be a tag team in somewhere like fucking, NWA or something. let those guys get experience down in somewhere where you're not getting too much exposure and build up a little bit.
Which, quite frankly, I mean, they've been fucking the football on this whole talent promotion or talent exchange thing that they've been doing with Impact. I mean, quite frankly, and obviously we'll talk about that stuff, but that's what you should have been doing for a lot of these guys that need this seasoning. You've got some people on the AEW roster that this is their first real major promotion. They don't have a whole lot of ring time in there under their belts. So it's one of those things where, yeah, send those people to Impact, have the Impact guys go over them. Fuck it. Who cares? Get them in the ring, get them to be able to get their timing down, refine themselves. That's what they should have been doing this entire time. But no, they've just been doing fuckery with finishes.
The other thing that on the show that I think to me was the one point that I was kind of disgusted, and that was Rebel. I don't know what to say, man. When you watch someone physically claw at the mat to pull themselves to get to the ringside, and they fucked up majorly, it's a disgrace. I know that there's a comparative video out there between what happened to Mercedes Martinez on getting knocked out in her match on NXT and what happened to Rebel. And the fact of the matter is that it took them over a minute and a half to 2 minutes with ring action still going on and having her fairly close to that action.
Yeah.
Before you could see that there were guys out there and trying to get her on the stretcher while they're still doing the final spot where Britt's going through a table. So you have an injured wrestler, and what are you going to do? You're going to put another one of your wrestlers while that person's still trying to be helped through a table. Just stop matches. Just fucking bring it home. Yep. Get right into the other fucking side of the ring so you're not, rolling around. And I think that this is where some of the greenness is.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, I love Nyla. I think that she's really, she works, decently. I think she's a better worker than Nia. And I love Britt to death. I think she's amazing. It's a simple call. Just fucking go over to the corner opposite of the ring so they can actually physically get the fucking girl out of the ring. But, you got to learn.
Yeah, because the other issue you have too during that match is clearly you can see that her legs are still in the shot on the opposite side, and no one's doing anything to her, and the commentators ignoring the fact that we still see the legs just sitting there. You gotta say something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can actually see Rebel say to Nyla, "Drag me to the ropes." Like you can read her lips, and she says that.
Yep.
And one other thing, you could only imagine how painful that injury was. It was a dislocated kneecap. Holy fuck. I have not had that happen, but I know people that have, and it is absolutely painful.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, she literally could not move her hips. Like you have to keep. I mean, she literally had to fucking claw to pull herself because you're at it. You just can't move anywhere directionally, and it's horrible.
And going back to what I was just saying about the fact that you still see her legs in the shot, and again, the commentators are not saying anything. I'm wondering, like, I've always thought that the job of the commentators are to always be looking at the monitors, not necessarily looking at what's happening in the arena. And that was the second time, because the first time earlier that night, they had mentioned the Good Brothers have just showed up, but they hadn't even showed up on the screen yet. And I'm like, why would they mention that? So why are they looking at the live shot instead of the monitors? You're always supposed to be looking at the monitors so you know what we are seeing. You're play calling to the people at home. So, you know, when it's a shock to us, it should be a shock to you. So it's the second thing that had happened tonight that goes, are you guys not seeing what's going on? Why are you calling things out before they happen? And why you see things that don't make sense and not mentioning it? You know, I don't know. It's just one of those things too.
Your two main commentators are both over 60 years old. So
I mean, they should know better.
Well, see, that's the interesting dynamic that you pointed that out. It's because they should know better than that. But the question is what is that set up there for them? And how good is their eyesight, right? Mm-hmm. And then your other guy, you got in a mask. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know, you could say, well, maybe he has trouble seeing stuff because of the fucking mask. But,
right.
And then you have Jericho out there. And, you know, I think that sometimes when you put a Jericho or a Taz out there, the sad thing is it shows that really you should get Ross should go backstage. Shivani should be an interviewer, you know, backstage. Get rid of Marvez. And I don't know who the fuck he's, you know, does he supply Tony the Coca-Cola, or is that why he's around?
Hey man, maybe he just has a no cut clause in his contract.
I thought it was a pure cut clause.
Oh man. All right, guys. Well, I guess that'd be AEW right there. I'll talk a little bit about Impact Wrestling. They kicked off the show with the number one contenders for tag team titles. It was Falaba and TJP versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack. So the winner of those two would have been fighting the tag team from Violent by Design, but I guess Violent by Design decided to interfere within that match, and now we don't have a definitive winner. So I guess at some point they will wrestle again, but as of right now, we don't know who's going to compete against Violent by Design for those tag team titles. So we had that. One thing I thought was pretty interesting on the show. So apparently Deonna Purrazzo has getting rid of her crew. Her crew was Susan and Kimberly. So she fought Susan on Impact last week and, you know, beat her and didn't want to have anything to do with Kimberly, as Kimberly was trying to talk some sense in her. Then on BTI, which is before Impact comes on, to this past week, Deonna had a match with Kimberly, which she beat Kimberly. So apparently she's now disavowing herself from her group. All right. Well, Steve, now just leaving.
Steve, see, right there. That's a perfect example. They allowed them to be on Being the Elite, right? BTI.
That's funny. Anyways, so Susan and Kimberly's like, look, why don't we compete for the tag titles? You know, we could be a tag team. Let's just go for that. And Susan's like, yeah, but what happens if we don't win? And then Kimberly said, well, maybe it's time to bring back Su Yung. And Susan goes, who? Which is great. And then the cameras just went to commercial. I love that. Great shit. So I'm guessing pretty soon, you know, we should get the return. Still, my whole favorite of all of our characters is Susie, by the way. It's my personal favorite. Okay. But here, what everybody want to talk about, Team Callis versus Team Dreamer. That was your main event, all right? So Team Callis, you got the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega versus Chris Sabin, Moose, and Sami Callihan, who is this team dreamer. Okay. Now, we got Slammiversary coming up. It's going to be happening in a couple of weeks, the same weekend as Money in the Bank. Got Money in the Bank on Sunday. You got Slammiversary on Saturday. It's going to be a huge, big wrestling weekend that's full of pay-per-views that you can sit and enjoy. And one of the matches on that show, because they only got 3 matches that they have announced so far, is going to be Moose versus Chris Sabin. Apparently, they really hate each other. But yes, they're in this particular match on part of the Team Dreamer that's going to come against the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. So as you can imagine, as this match is going well and the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega's getting their ass whooped, Moose don't want to play fair. He's pissed off, hates Chris Sabin, end up fighting one another. Moose eventually walks back to the back. And here we go, causing Team Dreamer to lose, and I got Team Callis with the win, which is interesting, right? Because in most cases, with a big pay-per-view coming up, normally Kenny and his team would take the loss, being that they know Kenny is going to win the title at the next event. So I'm not saying that Kenny's going to lose to. I'm not saying he's going to lose to Callahan, because I don't see that happening. But I just find that quite interesting that they took the win. You know, I mean, they do have one more week, but as of right now, they don't have a match for next week. So they're leaving the idea of them leaving on top. So I don't know, man. You know, I've hated this whole thing now that I've seen what's come out of it. But anyway, that was Impact. Again, everything's leading up to Slammiversary. You're gonna have Chris Sabin and Moose that's going to have their match. You have Kenny Omega now for the Impact title against Sami Callihan, and then you have the Ultimate X match where you get a chance to get Josh Alexander, Petey Williams, Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Rohit Raju. Which, man, it's been excellent wrestling going on there. There was a match that happened between Petey Williams and Chris Bay that was fire. You know, I just love watching anything they do in that X division, man. It's just worth watching. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that the best point about that is essentially this. So if you look at their roster and you start thinking, okay, I'm assuming Moose, they didn't have the title drop to Moose because he was still in limbo with his contract. Now he has an extension signed. I think he's got like a 3-year deal. He's getting paid better. So there's a good chance that the belt will make its way to him, potentially. However, the biggest fuck up out of all this is that Impact is not building guys like Chris Bay and Rohit and, you know, Josh Alexander. All those guys that you mentioned that are in that match are the reason that you would want to watch Impact Wrestling.
That's true.
One of those guys or multiple of those guys should be the ones in the title picture. Build your company around. It's not fucking, you know, if you think about TNA, really, I think in my memory, AJ Styles is the only guy who was an X division guy, true and true, who ended up being the heavyweight champion. I don't think you could really count Bobby Roode's a bigger guy. So I really think that you look what AJ Styles has accomplished in his career. Any one of those guys is, you know, except maybe Petey Williams because he's a little bit older. But all those other guys, why not? Why not? Fucking put the title on one of them, and you know that guys like Rohit and Bay, they can talk up a storm. So, you know, and I think honestly,
yeah, but do you think as much as good sense as that make, do you really think Kenny will lay down to either one of those in the X division? Although it would make sense. I'm just saying, I get what you're saying. You're correct. But do you think Kenny would actually say, I'll take that pin to Chris Bay?
Kenny Omega?
Make the sense to do that. Kenny Omega, yeah.
So Kenny Omega is going to take a pin from Sami Callihan?
I'm
That's
saying
what
I don't
I'm
believe that's
saying.
going to happen. I don't
No,
believe
no,
that's
no,
going to
no.
happen.
What
No,
I'm
no, I hear
saying,
what you're saying. Yeah.
what
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
saying is the argument that fans have
Yeah.
is that, well, who in Impact do you put the title on?
Right.
Because they don't have anyone that sticks out name-wise to you. So that
Right.
means that Impact has done something horribly, and that is they haven't built their fucking talent roster to be
Right. Yes.
reflective of what wrestling is now. And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
that, okay, you say, would Kenny take the pin? Well, eventually Kenny's going to have to ditch the title.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Also, Kenny is, kind of in some ways hinted recently that he's in a lot of fucking pain.
Oh yeah.
So there might be a time very soon that Kenny actually kind of steps back and either officially calls it quits or takes a hiatus. So the idea here to me is that if you want to get the attention for having a fucking amazing match and to put your title back in the picture as being something that's relevant, then you have guys like Chris Bay or Heat, any of those guys. That's who Kenny should be wrestling, because that is the person he can put a fucking match on with. It gets lost, this idea of it has to be this, this established person or this bigger guy or whatever. No, Kenny Omega is best when he's wrestling guys who are fucking $175 to $185.
Yep. Put him in there with Chris Bay and I'll buy the fucking pay-per-view and I don't even watch Impact. Seriously.
Yeah.
In fact, if you do that, if you guys listening out there, if you Uncle Scotty, or if you Uncle Don, or if you Coke and a Smile Con, if you're listening, why don't you go ahead and please do that? And Steve will not only buy the pay-per-view for himself, he'll buy the pay-per-view for all of us bad boys to watch. So, yeah,
Sure,
you just sold 4 pay-per-views if you put that match together.
Boom.
And that's
You're
probably
moving.
the most buys Impact will have had in probably 6 years.
Or at least four
you-
more buys that they normally didn't get.
y'all did see
Yeah,
how
right.
many people watched Impact this week, right?
I didn't catch it. How bad was it?
69,000.
Wow.
And half of those were from a blind house.
It just sucks, man, because there is so much potential there, man. Seriously.
They have a great roster.
Yeah.
They have a great roster.
I mean,
honestly, their creative is a lot better than what it's been too in previous years.
I agree.
Yep.
What the hell happened to y'all wouldn't know, but so Matt Stryker was one of the announcers, and Todd, who had left for a minute, was like, well, he's on assignment. That dude been on assignment for almost 2 months now. I think he might be a wrap, and Todd's got to come back to with D-Lo to come and take the show. But it was Stryker. What happened to him? He just disappeared all of a sudden. So, anyways, let's move over to SmackDown. Let's get to that. What people really want to know about. Matt Michaels, Edge opened up the show.
Yeah, he did, and he closed the show. So, pretty. So, like I said earlier, no Bobby Lashley, right? And who cares? It just. But no Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
that's bad.
Ooh.
That's not good.
That's a good point, man. All right. I like
you,
Michaels.
So Jimmy, right. and don't get me wrong, Jimmy Uso. Oh my God, he's wonderful. But that beating that Edge gave him, and since we don't know what's going on with Jay and not having Roman there, I'll tell you the glue of that whole story was Paul Heyman this week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, you talk about someone who can do a million things, but not saying a fucking word. He is
Right.
just that good.
He is.
So yeah, I mean, actually, I can understand too of just kind of keeping them off for maybe weeks so you don't get that. I kind of like that idea that you don't have to see the champion every fucking single show.
Right.
But I think, eventually that story's kind of, going to be coming around here. And what can we say about Edge? Probably one of the best fucking promos that you're going to hear this year. He's just so good.
I don't know. He's been on fire.
He's always been good. He's always been good on the mic. So,
I know that some people out there just don't understand Edge and don't like it when Edge shows up on the TV with his big old Edge eyes and his grizzled old fucking mountain man look. But he is the rated R superstar, and I wouldn't mind seeing another sex party live on TV. So hey, let's hope he wins. But boy, Kevin Owens, can we talk about a guy who thought he'd be out for a little while and right back in the fucking game and putting on amazing fucking match. So
yeah,
what's interesting about what we saw on SmackDown was SmackDown has been just repetitive on a lot of these ongoing feuds. In comparison, we have an Apollo Crews and King Corbin match, which, by the way, some of us are unkept. Okay. I don't understand why you had to be so harsh on it, Pat McAfee. Okay. Unkept is all right. And it looks like Corbin somehow in 1 week looked like he lost 50 pounds. I don't know.
No shit.
I don't know how. It's just like they were able to transform him into this sad, pathetic shell of a human being within a week.
Right.
Dude.
Hey, real quick, let's be real. Let's give some props to Corbin, though. I mean, he legitimately, like, you almost felt for the guy by the time all the horse shit with Rick Boogs and, all the taunting and the G-Wagon getting towed and the whole deal. Yeah, like you almost felt for him by the end of it.
Yeah.
I still am waiting for Vince to pull the trigger literally on an angle where a superstar kills himself. And then of course he never did, but it was under the assumption, you have the faux pas funeral in the ring, and then he comes out of nowhere to take the crown back from Shinsuke. But it's amazing. Yeah, you lose the crown, you lose 50 pounds, you gain back your balding hairline, you lose a razor, you can't shave, so that crown has a lot of power. But you put those two together with against Big E and Shinsuke, and it was a rehash that didn't need to fucking happen. It was just like, but Sammy and Kevin, no matter how many fucking times you see them wrestle, it doesn't get old. And I do not know how the fuck, if you had Rock and Austin wrestle on that frequency, I think even people would have been bored with that. But with these guys, it's fucking amazing. The only thing I don't know if I really liked, though, was the fact that Sammy didn't get the opportunity to be in that ladder match.
I agree with that. Actually.
I know it's star power, you want to put Kevin in, and also to give a little bigger matchup to a guy like Drew or something like that. But I would have really liked to seen Sammy. Is someone blowing shit up? Is it?
Yeah, that's
5th of July still.
They're doing fireworks by my. Yeah, sorry about that, man. Good thing we didn't record yesterday, or we wouldn't have got nothing on.
No shit. No shit.
But yeah, they got them, whatever they are, rockets, M80s or so. My bad, but yeah.
Oh no, it's not bad. It's just it's like you hear this popping. I'm like, what the fuck's going on in your house? What the hell? So a couple other things. We got the challenge between Bianca Belair and Bayley. Wow. looks like Bailey's going to be leaving TV for a little bit, maybe, because she said if she quits, then she's not going to be back in the wrestling ring. So looks like Bailey might be taking a little time off.
But I heard her say that, but it didn't sound like that was something that they had agreed to. You know what I mean? Because she said I would leave SmackDown, and she said I would leave wrestling, but like Bianca never said, well, let's put that on the line then, that for you to leave. Like she never made that like concrete. So I didn't know if that was really going to be.
She doesn't have to. The people who count, Miss Sonya Deville and Mr. Adam Pearce, are the ones who will make that happen. And we'll probably see it this week, and almost guarantee that when they say that this is the stipulation, Bailey will just start screaming and yelling, I never said that. I never meant that. You know, more chicken shit heel stuff, which would make sense.
Right.
So,
gotcha.
You just use the draft to get her over to Raw at that point.
Yeah, and give her a little time off.
Yeah.
You know, let her because she's been working pretty steady.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
She's run SmackDown. She has run SmackDown, especially through the pandemic, through everything. Yeah, she's definitely been the MVP on SmackDown. Outside of Roman Reigns, outside of Roman doing his thing, she has been a solid anchor for the women's division in SmackDown.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Reigns, and Bailey have been invaluable. And notice we're not saying stuff ever that's like, oh, this was crap, blah, blah, blah. It just they have so much going on there that it's ridiculous, including bringing back Zelina this episode, which put her straight into the ladder match. Then, ironically enough, have Liv Morgan come out and pin her. So
in 2 minutes,
yeah,
right.
So I don't know. I really don't know. That was a head scratcher. So it looks like Liv will eventually make her way into the ladder match, I would assume.
I would hope.
Yeah, hopefully. And of course, we're going to see Seth versus Cesaro again next week, which seems to be the way to get Cesaro into the ladder match, which there's your equalizer for putting Drew in there. So, and I wouldn't necessarily say if Rollins loses that he'll be necessarily out of that match. I got a feeling he weasels his way in somehow. So could be wrong on that, but be interesting. And boy, man, your boy from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Buxton there, boy, he's I love when wrestling gives us the shave and you're totally a different person.
No shit.
Yeah.
He's clean shaven and now he's elite. And Corbin can't find a razor and he's the shits. So apparently facial hair and the Bucks getting their facial hair. Facial hair is becoming a big thing in pro wrestling nowadays to where you are on the card. So a note for all you young up and comers out there, pay attention to that hair because it might make or break your career. There's your SmackDown. That's pretty much what all happened. Yeah. And it's pretty good when you can kind of touch on everything and not say that anything was total horseshit. That's rare.
Yeah,
that's rare. So
good stuff, man. Thank you much for that. Just a little bit of Ring of Honor. They had a pure title match against Fred Yehi versus Jonathan Gresham. Good match, man. It's I tell you, if you just want just an entirely different style of wrestling where you don't have to worry about getting a lot of run-ins or just things that are caused there not to be a straight up match. You get a lot of that on Ring of Honor. And this match was definitely one of those the pure tournaments, or to say the pure title matches, is absolutely what that is all about. And it went about 12 minutes. Fred definitely had to wait over Jonathan Gresham, but his speed that he had allowed him to continue to hold on to that pure title. So he's 10-0 when it comes to being the title holder of that belt. So shout out to Jonathan Gresham for doing his thing. And I guess the next match he's going to have, Jonathan, is going to be against Mike Bennett. So we'll get a chance to see that. And that's going to be at the Best in the World. Okay, that's July 11th. So that's next weekend. It's going to have fans there. So that should be interesting to see their first opportunity of having fans in their pay-per-view event. So we'll see if Jonathan can hold on to his belt there. Also, we got a chance to see, which I thought was pretty cool. We've seen a lot of matches before, or I have seen a lot of matches with Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe fight one another. But right now they've been distant because of the fight that they've had some time last year. And their father's like, look, you guys just need to just battle it out, go at it, and then let's come together so we can go back after those tag team titles. Because when they're together, you know, they're pretty ruthless. They're a tough team when they're together. They're good when they're separate, but when together, man, they're just beasts. So what did they decide to do? They had a chicken farm match. And this was actually at their compound, which, you know, they have out in Delaware. And it was pretty awesome to see. It started off in a ring that they had that was inside of a barn, and it eventually moved outside as they fought against. Listen, you got Mark that threw Jay off of a camper. Okay, now of course they had the crash pad there, but still, just watching him take that toss and flip over was like, oh shit. You know, you got to see that. By the way, Ring of Honor had to several times, at least 5 times, put the message of please do not try any of this at home. I haven't seen that message in a long time.
Especially if you live on a chicken farm.
Right. Pretty much. So anyway, that happened. And then at one point, Mark picks up Jay, throws him in the back of his pickup truck, told the cameraman go get in the seat. They drove the truck over to the chicken area where I guess he says he's gonna compost them. So you know, that's where they had went to. And so they got out of the truck, starting fighting again. And this time Jay ends up, you know, beating up Mark, puts him on the table, and then climbs a tree, gets on top of some old, I don't know, covered shed, and just jumps onto the table. It was a pretty high roof that he was on. I'm like, shit, man, that's not like where most people jump from. But he took that jump and onto the table. So the father picks them both, and they both can barely even, stand up from that point. They go back to the chicken farm, and now they're fighting one another. And the father just asking, "Okay, are y'all done? You had enough? You had enough?" You know. And after about another 10 minutes of just trying their best to knock each other out, they said, "Yeah, we had enough." So they are, you know, ultimately we can now imagine that they're back together. But just watching all of that put together was really exciting. Something you don't get a chance to see often, a chicken farm match. You know, if you get a chance to watch that, you know, there's 2 brothers who, I mean, they show video package of them doing that when they were in their teens. So, you know, they got to live it out again as adults. But it was great to see them in this capacity. And it was fun. It was really
sounds
fun.
like that match was pretty plucked up.
Pretty much. So yeah, that's Ring of Honor. Don't forget this weekend, Best in the World. Great matches is going to be coming to you if you get a chance to watch that. All right, we're getting close to the end. I just want to mention Sin City as we move over to New Japan. Just a couple of things I thought that caught my interest. Man, they announced their first U.S. show in over a year, Resurgence, and it's going to be August 14th in Los Angeles at the Torch in the LA Coliseum.
You just found this out, huh?
I just found this out. Yes.
Yeah. It kind of, the knowledge kind of dropped about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Good stuff. But excited for that to happen. And, may even try to, if you're able to make a trip to that would be kind of great to see, man. That's old stomping grounds there. And also, actually, no, that was actually it. So was there anything, Sin City, that you want to mention about New Japan?
Yeah. So just a couple of things really quick. The biggest thing that they've got coming up is their Summer Struggle event, July 10th and 11th. Obviously, this is emanating from Sapporo, Japan. The first night is being headlined by El Desperado versus Taiji Ishimori for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Elsewhere on that show, it's Show and Kazuchika Okada versus Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan. So Jeff Cobb getting in there with Okada. So that'll be interesting and fun to watch. Night 2 is being headlined by Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. against Tetsuya Naito and Sonata for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. So good stuff there. We'll see what happens. Any kind of fallout from there. Obviously, Shingo is your current IWGP World Champion. So we're gonna see what happens next and who his next challengers are going to be, what the next dates are going to be. But it looks like New Japan is digging themselves out of this setback that they were placed in. So very good to see.
Good. Awesome.
Who's wrestling at the Olympics for them?
We'll play. That would be Master Watto.
Man. You know what? We got to wrap this up because I got to do a little Master Wattoing myself. So.
Oh boy. Did you want to mention anything local based, Matt? If not, this would be we'll wrap the show up. But I don't know if you want to mention anything.
FSW had High Octane, Scars and Stripes this past Saturday. We'll talk about it on the DeFalco Files on Wednesday.
Perfect. Awesome. Everyone, thank you for hanging out with us. We'll give a couple of final thoughts because we're not going to have a 3 count, being that normally is released on Tuesdays. We got a lot of good programming that's still going to be coming on our podcast this week. So please download and, and enjoy. It's going to be really good stuff. Programming now also is that next week we won't be on, but we'll have something for you. So we're in the, I guess, part of the vacationing summertime kind of things happening. And that's kind of what we're going through. But after that, you can pretty much say we'll pretty much be here all the time from that point. What final thoughts you guys may have, man? I'm starting with you, Sid. So do you want to say anything, man, to the people?
Definitely. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for all the comments and all the great stuff going on in the chat. We had quite a few people in there. So everybody that was active in there, you guys are awesome. Also, special shout out to all of the brave men and women serving our country, lands both foreign and domestic. Obviously, we just got done with July 4th. Country's still riding high on patriotism, all that kind of fun stuff. So, again, thank you guys for what you do, and you enable us to do this show. Last but not least, repsports.com, promo code Vegas at checkout. Save yourself 15%, repsports.com. Go there for all of your pre-workout, weight loss, and general wellness needs. Promo code Vegas at checkout. Save yourself 15%.
Perfect. Shout out to the people at Sin City City that came to chat with us. Michaela, Chris, Michael, Lawrence, we see you. Thank you. Some of our usuals wasn't there, but of course we're doing this on a different night, and we also got some wrestling going on live right now. So a lot is happening. But we thank anyone that comes and hang out with us and everyone that do so. We just want to shout you out. Michaels, anything you want to say?
Yeah, again, we lose another wrestler. This week it was the Patriot Del Wilkes, someone who, unfortunately, because of injuries during his career, never, reached the potential that, was seen in him. But, it's sad that he passed away. They just started doing a podcast, within this past year. Anyone who hasn't listened, you can hear some of his stories on the podcast that he was doing, and go back and watch some of the stuff, especially the stuff he did with Bret Hart in 1997 during the summer of America versus Canada, the greatest. Everyone be on the lookout. Ken Burns is doing a 15-part documentary on Canada versus the USA, the summer of 1997, the Hearts versus the Patriots, and also the DX role. That it's just going to be a very, very moving PBS documentary series on something that was so important in the history of this country. Keep your eyes out for that, which probably will never happen. So,
well, there you go. We appreciate everyone again. We will see you sometime soon, but keep a lookout on all of our podcasts. We have a lot of programming content coming to you. It's going to be great. And with that, we'll see you when we do.